Thank you for your purchase. May it serve you well.
Thank you. Your craftsmanship is excellent.
There's a place in the heart of Arizona, a land painted in shades of ochre and rust, where the sun beats down on a vast, silent expanse. This is the Verde Valley, a landscape carved by time and kissed by an endless blue sky. As we journey through this rugged beauty, something extraordinary begins to reveal itself. Carved into the sheer face of a limestone cliff, a structure emerges, seemingly suspended between earth and sky. It's a breathtaking sight, a 5-story, 20-room marvel of ancient engineering. This is Montezuma Castle. When the first European settlers laid eyes upon this incredible dwelling, they were utterly captivated. It was so grand, so imposing, that they could only describe it in terms they understood. They called it a castle, a fortress fit for royalty. And who, they wondered, could have built such a magnificent place? Their minds drifted south to the powerful Aztec Empire, and they named it after the most famous emperor of all, Montezuma. It's an evocative name, isn't it? It conjures images of a powerful ruler, overseeing his domain from this cliffside palace. But that romantic notion, as compelling as it is a beautiful mistake. The truth is, this so-called castle has no connection to the Aztec Emperor Montezuma. In fact, it was already ancient by the time he was born. The real story is even more fascinating. This architectural wonder was built by a resourceful and resilient people known as the name Sinagua comes from the Spanish for without water, a nod to the arid lands they called home. But these people weren't just surviving here. They were thriving. They were master farmers, skilled artisans, and visionary builders. And this castle in the cliff is their most enduring legacy. Let's take a closer look at the Sinagua people. They inhabited this region from about 700 to 1425 AD. They weren't a single, massive tribe, but rather a collection of communities spread across central Arizona. They cultivated corn, beans, and squash in the fertile floodplains of the Verde River, developing sophisticated irrigation techniques to make the desert bloom. They were also traders, connected to a vast network that stretched from the Pacific coast to the Great Plains. Shells from the Gulf of California, pottery from neighboring cultures, and vibrant macaw feathers from Mesoamerica have all been found at Sinagua sites, painting a picture of a cosmopolitan and interconnected society. So why did they build their homes high up in a cliff face? It seems like an immense amount of effort, and it was. The answer likely lies in a combination of factors. First, protection. Living in an elevated, defensible position would have offered security from potential rivals and even flash floods that coursed through the valley below. Building into the cliff also provided a natural form of climate control. The limestone overhang offered shade from the relentless summer sun, keeping the dwellings cool. In the winter, the south-facing aspect would capture the low-hanging sun, providing passive solar heat. It was a brilliant, sustainable design, perfectly adapted to the harsh, desert environment. Imagine what it must have been like to live here. Picture families going about their daily lives on these ledges. The sound of children playing echoing against the stone. The smell of corn being ground on a metal. The sight of men and women climbing wooden ladders, their hands and feet knowing every hold. This wasn't just a building. It was a vibrant, vertical village. Archaeologists believe that at its peak, around 35 to 50 people called this specific structure home. It was a close-knit community, where everyone depended on one another for survival and prosperity. The construction itself is a marvel. The walls are made from limestone blocks, gathered from the base of the cliff, mortared together with mud and clay. You can still see the handprints of the Sinagua builders pressed into the plaster, a tangible connection to the people who lived here nearly 1,000 years ago. The ceilings were constructed with massive sycamore beams, which had to be harvested from the creek bed below and hauled up the cliff face end. Incredible feat of strength and coordination without the use of domesticated pack animals or wheels. Each room served a purpose, from living quarters to storage areas for their precious harvests. So, what happened to the Sinagua? Why did they leave this incredible home? This is one of the great mysteries of the American Southwest. Around the year 1425, the Sinagua people began to abandon their settlements throughout the Verde Valley, including Montezuma Castle. There wasn't one single catastrophic event, but likely a combination of pressures: prolonged drought, soil depletion, and potential conflicts over dwindling resources may have made life here increasingly difficult. It wasn't a sudden disappearance, but a gradual migration. The Sinagua people moved on, likely joining and integrating with other ancestral Puebloan groups, like the Hopi and Zuni. Their descendants are still here today, carrying on the traditions of their ancestors. The legacy they left behind, however, is monumental. Montezuma Castle became one of the first national monuments in the United States, designated by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1906. He recognized its immense historical and cultural value and sought to protect it from the rampant looting and vandalism that was destroying so many ancient sites at the time. Thanks to this foresight, we can still marvel at the ingenuity of the Sinagua people today. While visitors are no longer allowed to climb up into the structure to preserve its delicate integrity, just standing at its base and looking up is an experience that stays with you. It's a powerful reminder of the human capacity for adaptation, innovation, and community. The Sinagua didn't have advanced technology, but they had an intimate understanding of their environment. They used what the land gave them to create a home that was safe, sustainable, and beautiful. Montezuma Castle isn't a monument to a forgotten emperor. It's a tribute to the resilience and spirit of the Sinagua people. It stands as a silent, stone testament to a thriving culture that mastered the art of living in the heart of the Arizona desert. It challenges our assumptions about the past and inspires us with its timeless elegance and ingenuity. It truly is a castle, not of royalty, but of a people deeply connected to their world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this exploration of Montezuma Castle, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more stories from our incredible world. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next adventure. Until next time, stay curious. Welcome back to our journey through the annals of history. Today, we venture into Chapter 2, the Valley of Verde, a place where time seems to slow and the echoes of the past whisper on the wind. Imagine a landscape cradled by the protective arms of majestic mountains, a sanctuary carved out by nature itself. This is the Verde Valley, a verdant jewel set in the heart of Arizona's high desert. As we descend into this serene basin, the first thing that captures the senses is the lifeblood of the valley. Its gentle rivers. The Verde River, its name meaning green in Spanish, meanders gracefully through the landscape. Its waters, shimmering under the vast desert sky, had been a source of life for millennia. Alongside it, tributaries like Oak Creek carve their own paths, their crystal-clear streams feeding the fertile soil and creating lush riparian corridors that stand in vibrant contrast to the surrounding red rock formations. The soil here is a rich, dark tapestry, a gift from the volcanic activity of ages past. This fertility is the valley's promise, a promise of abundance that has drawn life to its embrace for centuries. It's a land that wants to give, to nurture, and to sustain. Picture fields of corn, beans, and squash, thriving under a benevolent sun, their roots drawing strength from this generous earth. The air itself feels different here, cleaner, crisper, carrying the subtle scents of cottonwood trees and desert willows that line the riverbanks. Surrounding it all are the mountains, the Mingus Mountains to the west and the Mogollon Rim to the east. They're not just a stunning backdrop, they are silent guardians. They shield the valley from the harshest extremes of the desert climate, creating a microenvironment with milder winters and more pleasant summers than the surrounding plateaus. They catch the rain and winter snow, replenishing the aquifers and ensuring the rivers flow consistently. Looking up at these towering peaks, you can almost feel their ancient, protective presence, a sense of security that would have been deeply felt by anyone seeking a place to call home. So, why was this specific location so magnetic, so ideal for settlement? It was a perfect convergence of critical elements. First and foremost was the constant access to water. In a desert environment, a reliable river is not just a convenience. It is the very foundation of civilization. The Verde River provided water for drinking, for irrigating crops, and for attracting game, making survival not just possible, but prosperous. Then there's the mild climate. The valley's elevation and its protective mountain ranges created a sweet spot, a haven from the scorching heat of the lower deserts and the bitter cold of the high country. This longer growing season allowed for multiple harvests and a more stable food supply, a luxury in a world governed by the whims of nature. Life could be planned with a degree of certainty that was rare in the ancient world. Finally, the landscape itself offered a natural defense. The surrounding mountains and steep canyon walls created formidable barriers against potential threats. Settlements could be strategically placed on mesas or within cliff alcoves, providing clear lines of sight and making them difficult to assault. This inherent security allowed communities to flourish, to focus their energies on culture, agriculture, and society, rather than on constant defense. Water, climate, and safety, the triad of essentials that made the Verde Valley a true paradise for early peoples. To truly understand the depth of human history here, we need only look to the silent storytellers left behind. The Verde Valley is an open-air museum, dotted with archaeological sites that speak volumes about its rich cultural past. One such place is Tusigut, a name that translates from Apache to crooked water. Perched atop a limestone and sandstone ridge, the ruins of this ancient pueblo command a sweeping view of the valley. Imagine, over 1,000 years ago, this was a bustling community, a multi-story village housing hundreds of people. Walking among its weathered walls today, you can almost hear the sounds of daily life, the grinding of corn, the laughter of children, the murmur of conversations, a testament to a thriving society built on the valley's bounty. Not far from there, we find another marvel of ancient ingenuity: Montezuma Well. This is not a well in the traditional sense, but a massive limestone sinkhole, continuously fed by underground springs. Over 1.5 million gallons of warm, life-giving water flow into this oasis every single day. The Sinagua people, who inhabited this area, recognized its sacred power. They built their homes into the cliffs surrounding the well, living in harmony with this constant source of water. They channeled its outflow through ancient irrigation canals, some of which are still visible today, to water their crops in the valley below. Montezuma Well wasn't just a resource. It was the center of a community, a sacred place of spiritual significance and physical survival. It demonstrates an incredible understanding of hydrology and engineering, a deep connection to the land and its life-sustaining rhythms. These sites, Tusigut and Montezuma Well, are just two jewels in a crown of cultural richness. They frame the Verde Valley not just as a beautiful landscape, but as a cradle of civilization. They tell a story of adaptation, innovation, and resilience. Now, let's close our eyes for a moment and try to connect with the rhythm of that life long ago. Feel the warmth of the morning sun as it crests the mountains, casting long shadows across the valley floor. Hear the gentle rustle of corn stalks in a light breeze, a sound that promises sustenance. In the distance, the river flows, a constant, soothing murmur that underscores every moment. The day is marked by the sun's journey across the sky. Work in the fields gives way to time spent with family, crafting pottery, weaving baskets, or sharing stories as the sky turns a brilliant palette of orange and purple. As dusk settles, the air cools. The smoke from cooking fires drifts lazily upwards, carrying the scent of roasting corn and savory stews. The stars begin to appear, not one by one, but as if a veil has been lifted, revealing a breathtaking, glittering canopy. In the profound silence of the desert night, broken only by the chirping of crickets or the distant call of a coyote, there's a sense of peace, a deep connection to the cosmos and to the earth beneath your feet. This was the pulse of desert life, a rhythm dictated by the seasons, by the flow of water, and by a profound respect for the world that provided everything. It was a life of hard work, yes, but also one of deep community, spiritual richness, and harmony with nature that we can still feel in the Verde Valley today. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of the Verde Valley. I hope you felt a glimmer of the magic that has captivated people for thousands of years. If you enjoyed this exploration, please give this video a like. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next chapter. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring. Welcome back to our journey through the ancient Southwest. Today, We'll be diving deep into Chapter 3 to uncover the story of a truly remarkable people, the Sinagua. Ever heard of them? If not, you're in for a treat. Their name, given by Spanish explorers, means without water, which is a huge clue about the challenging world they inhabited and conquered. So, who are these people who thrived in a land seemingly without water? Let's find out. The story of the Sinagua begins around 500 AD in the highlands of central Arizona, a landscape of volcanic fields, pine forests, and stark, beautiful deserts. But where did they come from? It's a fascinating puzzle that archaeologists are still piecing together. The Sinagua didn't just appear out of nowhere. They were part of a vibrant cultural crossroads. Imagine a bustling intersection of ancient peoples. To the south, you had the Hohokam, master irrigators of the Sonoran Desert. To the north and east, the ancestral Pueblones famous for their magnificent cliff dwellings. And to the southeast, the Mogollon people, known for their distinctive pottery. The Sinagua were right in the middle of it all. Early Sinagua culture shows a blend of influences from these neighbors. Their first homes were pit houses, similar to those built by both the Mogollon and Hohokam. Their early pottery also shows this mix, borrowing styles and techniques. It suggests a history of migration, trade, and shared ideas. It's likely that the Sinagua people were not one single, isolated group, but a dynamic society formed from the movement and merging of different peoples, each bringing their own skills and traditions to create something entirely new and unique. This ability to adapt and integrate would become the hallmark of Sinagua survival. So, how did a culture named without water manage to build a civilization that lasted for nearly 1,000 years? The answer lies in their sheer ingenuity. The Sinagua were masters of dry farming, a collection of brilliant techniques for growing crops in an arid environment. They didn't have massive rivers to divert like the Hohokam. Instead, they became experts at capturing every single drop of moisture the sky offered. They built check dam small rock walls in gullies and washes to slow down runoff from the brief, violent monsoon rains. This didn't just stop erosion. It allowed the water to soak deep into the soil, creating pockets of moisture where they could plant corn, beans, and squash. They also used rock mulch, covering their fields with a layer of dark volcanic stones. This might seem odd, but it was a genius move. The rocks acted like a shield, preventing the precious water in the soil from evaporating under the harsh sun. They also absorbed heat during the day and released it slowly at night, protecting the young plants from frost. You can still see these ancient rock-bordered fields, or grid gardens, etched into the landscape today, a silent testament to their agricultural brilliance. They weren't just farming, they were carefully and respectfully engineering their environment to sustain them. This incredible adaptability was put to the ultimate test in the 11th century. Around 1064 AD, a nearby volcano, now known as Sunset Crater, erupted in a spectacular display of fire and ash. You might think this was a catastrophe, and for those living at its base, it certainly was. The eruption blanketed over 800 square miles with a layer of black volcanic cinder. But for the Sinagua, this disaster held a surprising silver lining. That layer of cinder acted just like their rock mulch, but on a massive scale. It created a perfect blanket that trapped moisture in the soil, turning previously unfarmable land into a fertile new frontier. This event triggered what archaeologists called the Sinagua climax. People from surrounding regions, including Hohokam, Mogollon, and ancestral Pueblones, were drawn to this newly productive land. The population boomed. This wasn't a conquest, it was a migration, a coming together of diverse groups attracted by opportunity. It was during this period, from about 1100 to 1300 AD, that the Sinagua built their most iconic structures, the very ones we can still marvel at today. Places like Wopatki, a massive multi-room pueblo that became a center of trade, and ceremony, and the stunning cliff dwellings of Montezuma Castle and Walnut Canyon, tucked into sheer rock faces. These weren't just homes. They were vibrant communities, bustling with life, trade, and new ideas, all born from a volcanic eruption and the Sinagua's talent for turning challenges into opportunities. So, what was daily life like inside these bustling pueblos and cliff dwellings? Imagine waking up to the smell of a small juniper fire and the sound of grinding stones as women prepared cornmeal for the morning meal. The Sinagua diet was based on the three sisters: corn, beans, and squash supplemented with wild plants they gathered, like peanut nuts and yucca fruit, and meat from hunting deer, rabbits, and pronghorn. Their homes were architectural marvels. In places like Walnut Canyon, they built their rooms on south-facing ledges to catch the winter sun for warmth, while being shaded from the high summer sun. Life was communal. Multiple families lived together, sharing courtyards for daily tasks, tool-making, and socializing. The men would tend the fields and hunt, while the women managed the household, crafted beautiful and highly durable pottery known as Alameda brownware, and wove cotton into textiles. We know they grew cotton and traded it widely, even receiving exotic goods in return, like seashells from the Pacific coast and macaw feathers from Mesoamerica, found at sites like Whoop. What about their language? This is one of the great mysteries. The Sinagua left no written records, so we don't know for certain what language they spoke. However, based on the languages of their probable descendants, the modern Hopi and Zuni people Zit, as likely they spoke a language related to the Uto-Aztecan or Zunian language families. It's even possible that in multicultural hubs like Wapatki, multiple languages were spoken, a true melting pot of the ancient world. The spiritual world of the Sinagua was deeply interwoven with every aspect of their lives. They saw the sacred in the land, the sky, the rain, and the animals. Their religion likely centered on agricultural cycles and the vital importance of water. We see evidence of this in their art and architecture. Petroglyphs carved into rock faces depict geometric patterns, human-like figures, and animals that may represent clan symbols or spiritual beings. Within their pueblos, they built kiva spatial ceremonial rooms, often circular and subterranean, that served as the spiritual heart of the community. Here, religious rituals would have been performed to ensure a good harvest, successful hunts, and the overall well-being of the people. They also had ball courts, a feature borrowed from their Hohokam neighbors to the south. These weren't just for sport. They were arenas for ritual games that held deep social and religious significance, perhaps used to settle disputes or reaffirm social ties between different groups. The presence of both kivas and ball courts at the same sites shows, once again, that incredible Sinagua trait of blending different cultural traditions into a unique spiritual identity. Then, around the year 1400, the story takes another turn. The Sinagua began to leave their magnificent pueblos and cliff dwellings. The great communities of the Verde Valley and the Wapaki Basin emptied out. Why? This is another great puzzle. There was no single dramatic event, but likely a combination of factors. A prolonged period of drought could have made their dry farming techniques less reliable. Over generations, the soil may have become depleted of nutrients. There may have been social pressures or conflicts as resources became scarcer. It wasn't a sudden disappearance. It was a gradual migration, a slow and deliberate movement of people. So where did they go? The archaeological and oral traditions of modern Pueblo peoples provide the answer. The Sinagua people didn't vanish. They moved on and became part of other groups. Many likely migrated north and east, integrating with the communities that would eventually become the modern Hopi and Zuni tribes. In fact, many Hopi clans trace their ancestry directly back to the Sinagua sites we've been discussing. Their stories and ceremonies carry the echoes of their ancestors' lives in the Verde Valley and the lands around the sacred peaks. The Sinagua legacy isn't written in books, but is alive today in the traditions, languages, and identities of the Pueblo peoples of Arizona and New Mexico. They didn't disappear. They simply moved on, carrying their culture with them, adapting once again, as they always had. The Sinagua story is a powerful lesson in resilience, innovation, and adaptation. From their mysterious origins at a cultural crossroads to their mastery of a harsh desert environment, from the population boom after a volcanic eruption to their eventual migration and integration into other tribes, their history is one of constant change. They show us that a culture isn't just defined by the things it leaves behind, but by its ability to move forward. The next time you see a picture of a cliff dwelling tucked into a canyon wall, remember the Sinagua, people without water, who made the desert bloom. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of the Sinagua. I hope you found their story as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more journeys into the ancient past. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next chapter. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Welcome back to our journey through the American Southwest. Today, we're looking up, way up, into the heart of a sheer limestone cliff in Arizona. What we're about to explore isn't just a ruin. It's a masterpiece of ancient engineering, a vertical village that has defied gravity for nearly 1,000 years. This is Chapter 4, Building in the Sky, as we unravel the secrets of Montezuma Castle. First, let's clear up a common misconception. Despite its name, this incredible structure has no connection to the Aztec Emperor Montezuma. Early European settlers, awestruck by its grandeur, mistakenly linked it to the legendary ruler. The true architects were a pre-Columbian culture known as the Sinagua people, a name derived from the Spanish word Sinagua, meaning without water. This name, given by archaeologists, reflects the arid environment they thrived in. Yet as we'll see, they were masters of living with and alongside water. Gazing up at Montezuma Castle, you can't help but wonder, how did they build a 5-story, 20-room complex so high up a vertical cliff face? It's a feat that would be challenging even with modern technology. The Sinagua accomplished this with a profound understanding of their environment and the materials it provided. They were master masons. The primary building blocks were pieces of the limestone cliff itself, carefully shaped and fitted together. The mortar holding these stones in place was a mixture of local mud and clay, a surprisingly durable adhesive that has withstood centuries of sun, wind, and rain. Imagine the process. Workers would have painstakingly carried stones, water, and mud up precarious ladders or hand-and-toe hold trails carved into the cliff. The structural integrity of the castle relied heavily on a framework of wooden beams. Sycamore and ash trees growing along the nearby Verde River were felled, hauled up the cliff, and set into the masonry. These beams formed the floors and ceilings of the rooms, creating the multi-story structure we see today. You can still see the original hand-hewn vigas, or beams, poking out from the walls, a direct link to the hands that placed them there so long ago. The walls are about 1 foot thick, providing excellent insulation against the desert's extreme temperatures, keeping the interior cool in the summer and warm in the winter. It was a sophisticated, sustainable design born from necessity and ingenuity. But why go through all this trouble? Why build a home in such an inaccessible location? The answer lies in one word: safety. The Verde Valley, while fertile, was not always a peaceful place. Competing groups may have vied for its precious resources. By situating their home high above the valley floor, the Sinagua created a natural fortress. An attack from below would be incredibly difficult. Raiders would be exposed and vulnerable as they attempted to scale the cliff, while the residents could defend themselves from the relative safety of their high-rise home. Furthermore, the location offered protection from the environment itself. The Verde River, the lifeblood of the valley, was also prone to seasonal flooding. A settlement on the floodplain would be at constant risk of being washed away. By building more than 90 feet up the cliff, the Sinagua were well above the reach of even the most severe floods, ensuring their homes, families, and food stores remained safe and dry year-round. It was a brilliant strategy, a perfect balance between proximity to vital resources like water and farmland, and protection from the inherent dangers of the natural world. Now, let's step inside, using our imagination. Picture yourself as a member of the Sinagua community, living here around the year 1300. You wake up not to the sound of traffic, but to the gentle murmur of the Verde River below and the songs of canyon wrens echoing off the cliffs. You move through the cool, dim rooms, the walls plastered smooth with a fine layer of clay. Sunlight streams through the small, T-shaped doorways and window openings, illuminating particles of dust dancing in the air. You walk to one of the windows, a perfectly framed portal looking out over the valley. The view is breathtaking. Below, a ribbon of green marks the path of the river, lined with cottonwood and sycamore trees. Beyond the river banks, You can see the community's fields of corn, beans, and squash, irrigated by canals. A testament to your people's farming skills. You might see children playing by the river, or a group of men heading out to hunt deer in the surrounding hills. From this vantage point, you are part of the world, yet safely above it. It's a perspective of both security and connection, a constant reminder of the world you depend on. Life wasn't just about survival. It was about community. Archaeologists believe that at its peak, Montezuma Castle housed around 35 to 50 people. The rooms were likely communal living spaces, with families sharing hearths and daily tasks. Imagine the sounds of grinding corn, the smell of cooking fires, the chatter of voices, and the laughter of children echoing through these stone corridors. It was a close-knit, vertical village where everyone depended on each other. The upper rooms, perhaps used for storage or special ceremonies, would have offered the most spectacular views, reserved for the most important aspects of their lives. By the early 1400s, for reasons that are still debated by scholars, the Sinagua people moved on from Montezuma Castle and the surrounding Verde Valley. There's no evidence of a violent conflict. Theories range from soil depletion and drought to social or religious motivations that led them to migrate elsewhere. They left their magnificent cliff dwelling behind, empty and silent, waiting to be rediscovered. What they left is a powerful legacy. Montezuma Castle is a testament to human resilience, ingenuity, and the ability to adapt and thrive in a challenging environment. It shows us that with a deep understanding of nature, incredible things are possible. In 1906, President Theodore Roosevelt recognized its importance by declaring it one of America's first national monuments, ensuring its preservation for all of us to marvel at. Standing here today, we are not just looking at old stone walls. We are looking at a story of a community that built its home in the sky, a people who found safety and beauty in the heart of a cliff. It is a profound reminder of the diverse and sophisticated cultures that have called this land home for millennia. Thank you for joining us on this incredible exploration of Montezuma Castle. I hope you've enjoyed this glimpse into the past. If you found this journey fascinating, please hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next adventure. We have so much more to discover together. Until next time, keep exploring. Step into a world carved from stone, where the sun rises to paint the canyon walls in hues of gold and amber. This is Chapter 5, Daily Life Among the Cliffs. Here, life moved not by the clock, but by the sun's arc and the rhythm of the seasons. The Sinagua people, whose name means without water, mastered a life of harmony and resilience in this arid, vertical world. Imagine waking to the first light, not in a bustling city, but in a home nestled within the protective embrace of a cliff. The air is crisp and cool, carrying the faint, earthy scent of dust and stone. The first sounds are not of traffic, but of life stirring, the gentle, rhythmic scrape of stone on stonematati, grinding corn. This was the heartbeat of the community, a sound that echoed through the plazas and narrow passageways from dawn until dusk. It was the sound of sustenance, of family, of continuity. Mothers and daughters would kneel before their grinding stones, transforming hard, sun-dried kernels into the fine flour that would become their daily bread. This wasn't just a chore. It was a ritual, a time for shared stories, for quiet contemplation, for passing down traditions from one generation to the next. The flour, a testament to their labor, would soon be mixed with precious water and patted into flat cakes, ready to be cooked over an open fire. As the sun climbs higher, the village comes alive. The scent of roasting maize begins to drift through the air, a nutty, sweet aroma that promises warmth and nourishment. It mingles with the subtle fragrance of burning juniper wood, a smell that is forever etched into the memory of these canyons. Smoke curls lazily from the rooftops, spiraling up towards the brilliant blue sky, a signal to all that the hearths are warm and the community is well. Look to the terraces, those sun-drenched ledges clinging to the cliff face. Here, amidst pots of squash and beans, the children play. Their laughter, bright and clear, bounces off the stone walls, a joyful counterpoint to the steady rhythm of work. They aren't confined by four walls, but of a playground of epic proportions. They learn to navigate the ladders and narrow paths with an innate, sure-footed grace, their small hands and feet knowing every hold, every step. Their games mimicked the lives of their elders, building tiny cliff dwellings in the sand, grinding pebbles into dust, or chasing lizards that dart across the warm stone. They are learning the ways of their people, not through lessons, but through living. Meanwhile, in the shaded corners of the plazas, the elders sit, their hands never idle, their fingers, gnarled by years of work, but still astonishingly nimble, move with a practiced, unhurried grace. They are the keepers of memory, the living libraries of the sun. An elder might be weaving a basket, his fingers expertly manipulating yucca fibers into intricate patterns that tell a story of the hunt, of the harvest, of the spirits that inhabit this land. The patterns are not just decoration. They are a language, a connection to the ancestors. Each coil, each stitch, is a prayer, a piece of their soul woven into the vessel. Another elder, a grandmother perhaps, might be spinning cotton into thread on a simple wooden spindle. The whirl spins like a top, its steady hum a soft, meditative sound. This thread will become clothing, blankets to ward off the desert chill, or ceremonial garments. Her movements are fluid, economical, perfected. Over a lifetime, she watches the children play, a gentle smile on her face, her presence a silent, reassuring anchor for the entire community. These elders are not retired. They are revered. Their wisdom guides the community. Their skills are essential, and their stories are the glue that binds the generations together. As midday approaches, the sun beats down with intensity. The village quiets. People retreat into the cool, dim interiors of their homes, the thick adobe and stone walls, providing a natural respite from the heat. This is a time for a shared meal, for rest, for quiet conversation. Families gather, sharing the food prepared that morning. The footsteps of those still moving through the passageways echo with a hollow, distinct sound, a reminder of the solid, unyielding nature of their world. Every sound is amplified, every whisper carries. In T's close-knit space, there are no secrets, only shared existence. The afternoon brings a return to activity, but at a gentler pace. Perhaps a group of men are meticulously chipping away at stone, fashioning sharp new points for their arrows. Their focused silence, broken only by the sharp tink-tink of their tools. Their craft is one of patience and precision, for their lives and the well-being of their families depend on the quality of their work. Others might be tending to the small gardens, carefully conserving every precious drop of water, their knowledge of the land profound and intimate. The women might gather to craft pottery. They knead the clay, sourced from special, sacred places in the canyon, their hands shaping graceful, functional forms. They paint them with mineral and plant-based pigments, decorating them with geometric designs that hold deep meaning symbols for water, for clouds, for the journey of life. These pots are not just containers for food and water. They are works of art, expressions of beauty and spirituality in everyday objects. As the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the canyon floor, the light softens. The cliffs glow with a final, fiery burst of orange and red. The community gathers once more, this time on the plazas and rooftops, to watch the day end. The air cools, and the work is done. This is a time for storytelling, for music. The sound of a wooden flute might drift on the evening breeze, its haunting melody weaving through the stone dwellings, telling tales of heroes, of creation, of the sacredness of the world around them. The sky transforms into a deep indigo, studded with a breathtaking blanket of stars, unobscured by any artificial light. The Sinagua saw their stories written in these celestial patterns, their guides and their calendar. As the fires die down to glowing embers and the village settles into silence, the only sounds are the chirping of crickets and the whisper of the wind through the canyon. Life here was a tapestry woven from threads of hard work, deep community bonds, and a profound connection to the natural world. It was a life of purpose, lived in a place where every day was a testament to human ingenuity and the enduring power of the human spirit. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you've been captivated by the story of the Sinagua, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us continue to explore and share these incredible histories. We'll see you in the next chapter. Hello, history buffs. and curious minds. And welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of the Sinagua people. Today, in Chapter 6, we're exploring a question that's as puzzling as it is inspiring. How did they master the art of farming without water? The name Sinagua itself, meaning without water in Spanish, paints a picture of a harsh, unforgiving landscape. And it was. The high desert of what is now central and northern Arizona isn't exactly the first place you'd think of for a thriving agricultural society. Yet, the Sinagua didn't just survive here, they flourished. Their secret, a profound and intimate understanding of their environment, combined with brilliant ingenuity. They were the original masters of dry farming, and their techniques are lessons in resilience that still resonate today. So, how did they pull it off? It wasn't magic. It was a sophisticated, multi-pronged strategy. Let's start with their irrigation systems. This wasn't about building massive dams like we see today. Instead, the Sinagua were masters of micromanagement. They constructed intricate networks of small check dams and terraces using rocks and earth. Picture this. When the infrequent but powerful summer monsoons arrived, these structures didn't try to stop the water. Instead, they slowed it down. As the runoff cascaded down the hillsides, these small dams would pool the water, allowing it to soak deep into the soil instead of just washing away. They were essentially creating small, moisture-rich pockets of land all across the landscape. They also dug canals and diversion channels, carefully guiding precious water from springs and seasonal streams directly to their fields. Every single drop was captured, directed, and used with incredible efficiency. Then there was floodplain farming. The Sinagua were keen observers of natural cycles. They knew that rivers and washes, like the Little Colorado River or Beaver Creek, would flood seasonally. While we might see a flood as a disaster, the Sinagua saw it as a gift. They strategically planted their crops in the floodplains after the waters receded. Why? Because the flood would deposit a fresh, nutrient-rich layer of silt, which was not only incredibly fertile but also held moisture for a long time. It was a natural, self-renewing fertilization and irrigation system, and all it required was precise timing and a deep knowledge of the seasonal rains. They knew when the storms would come, where the water would flow, and where the best soil would be left behind. This wasn't just farming. It was a partnership with the forces of nature. Of course, knowing how to manage water is only half the battle. You also need the right crops. And the Sinagua, like many indigenous peoples of the Americas, built their entire agricultural system around the three sisters: corn, beans, and squash. This isn't just a random assortment of vegetables. It's a symbiotic masterpiece of agricultural design. Let's break it down. Corn grows tall, providing a natural pole for the beanstalks to climb. The beans, in turn, they pull nitrogen from the air and convert it into a form that plants can use, enriching the soil for the corn and squash, which are heavy feeders. Then you have the squash. It grows low to the ground. Its large, broad leaves creating a living mulch. This shades the soil, keeping it cool and moist, which is absolutely critical in a dry climate. It also helps to suppress weeds, reducing the competition for water and nutrients. Together, the three sisters create a self-sustaining ecosystem on a small scale. They provide a nutritionally complete diet: carbohydrates from the corn, protein from the beans, and essential vitamins and fats from the squash, all while supporting each other's growth and conserving precious water. It's a perfect example of companion planting, a technique modern organic farmers celebrate, but one the Sinagua had perfected centuries ago. This level of agricultural success in such a challenging environment wasn't the work of isolated individuals. It required immense cooperation and shared knowledge. Families and entire communities had to work together to build and maintain the check dams, canals, and terraces. The planting and harvesting had to be coordinated to take full advantage of the short growing seasons and unpredictable rains. This shared effort was built on a foundation of observation. The Sinagua were meticulous observers of the natural world. They tracked the sun's path across the sky to create calendars, marking solstices and equinoxes. To know the perfect time to plant, they watched the behavior of plants and animals, which gave them clues about a coming wet or dry season. They understood the subtleties of the soil, knowing which types would hold water best. This wasn't just practical knowledge, it was a deep spiritual connection to the land. The earth wasn't something to be conquered, it was a partner to be understood and respected. Their survival, their entire civilization, was a direct result of this delicate balance between human cooperation and a keen observation of nature's rhythms. They listened to the land, and in return, the land provided. The legacy of the Sinagua's farming techniques is a powerful reminder that ingenuity and respect for nature can overcome even the most extreme challenges. They didn't have advanced technology, but they had something far more valuable: a deep, holistic understanding of their ecosystem. They proved that with careful planning, community effort, and a willingness to work with nature rather than against it, it is possible to farm and to thrive, even in a land without water. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the Sinagua's agricultural world. Their story is one of incredible resilience and wisdom. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the ancient past. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you won't miss Chapter 7. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever looked at a place like Montezuma Castle, seemingly isolated in the middle of the Arizona desert, and wondered, how did they survive? Were they completely cut off from the world? Well, today, we're busting that myth wide open. Welcome to Chapter 7 of our journey, Trade Across the Desert, where we uncovered the incredible network that connected this ancient cliff dwelling to civilizations hundreds, even thousands of miles away. Far from being a solitary outpost, Montezuma Castle was a bustling node in a sophisticated web of trade. Think of it less as a fortress and more as a thriving marketplace and cultural crossroads. The people who lived here, the southern Sinagua, were savvy traders and travelers. They weren't just surviving in the desert, they were thriving by connecting with a wider world. The evidence, it's literally embedded in the artifacts they left behind. Let's talk about some of the exotic goods found right here at Montezuma Castle. Archaeologists have unearthed beautiful, intricate shells. But these aren't from a local creek. These shells traveled over 500 miles from the Pacific Ocean, likely from the coast of California or the Gulf of California. Imagine the journey. Traders carrying these delicate items on foot, crossing rugged mountains and vast, arid landscapes, all to bring a piece of the ocean to the heart of the desert. These weren't just pretty trinkets. They were status symbols, used in jewelry and ceremonial objects, signifying wealth and long-distance connections. But the trade didn't stop at the ocean. Perhaps the most stunning discovery is the presence of macaw feathers. Scarlet macaws are not native to Arizona. Their natural habitat is deep in the jungles of southern Mexico and Central America. So, how did their vibrant red, blue, and yellow feathers end up here? They were part of an extensive trade network that stretched far to the south. These feathers were incredibly valuable, reserved for the most important religious ceremonies and ahistas. Finding them here tells us that the people of Montezuma Castle were connected to powerful trade systems that linked the American Southwest with the great cultures of Mesoamerica. And what did the Sinagua trade in return? One of their most valuable exports was a stone that has become synonymous with the Southwest: turquoise. The region is rich with high-quality turquoise deposits, and this beautiful blue-green stone was highly prized throughout ancient North and Central America. It was considered sacred, a piece of the sky and water brought to earth. So, the people here would mine and work this precious stone, which then traveled south, east, and west in exchange for shells, feathers, pottery, and other goods. This two-way flow of resources created a dynamic and interdependent economy. This exchange wasn't just about economics, though. When goods travel, so do ideas. This is one of the most fascinating aspects of the trade network. As traders moved from village to village, they shared stories, technologies, artistic styles, and religious beliefs. The designs on pottery found at Montezuma Castle show influences from neighboring cultures like the Hoshukam to the south and the ancestral Pueblones to the north. New farming techniques, architectural ideas, and ceremonial practices would have also spread along these desert highways. This cultural exchange created a rich, cosmopolitan world in the ancient Southwest. It wasn't a single, uniform culture, but a vibrant mosaic of interconnected societies, each contributing to and borrowing from one another. The desert, which we often see as a vast, empty barrier, was actually a superhighway of communication and exchange. The canyons and mesas were the streets, and the rivers and stars were the maps that guided these ancient entrepreneurs. Think about the organization required for this to happen. These weren't just casual swaps between neighbors. It involved complex relationships, established roots, and a shared understanding of value. Traders had to be multilingual, diplomatic, and incredibly resilient. They had to know the landscape intimately, where to find water, how to navigate the terrain, and when to travel to avoid the harshest conditions. They were the lifeblood of this interconnected world, weaving distant communities together into a single, sprawling network. The presence of ball courts in the region, similar to those found in Mexico, is another piece of powerful evidence for this deep cultural exchange. The ball game was a significant social and religious event in Mesoamerican societies, and its appearance in the Southwest suggests a profound level of interaction. It wasn't just a feather being traded. It was an entire belief system, a whole cultural package that was being shared and adapted. So, when we look up at the silent windows of Montezuma Castle today, we should see more than just an ancient ruin. We should see a vital hub in a continental network. We should imagine traders arriving with precious cargo from the coast, storytellers sharing tales from distant lands, and artisans incorporating new, exciting ideas into their work. The people of Montezuma Castle were not isolated. They were citizens of a wide and interconnected world. They understood that connection, not isolation, was the key to prosperity. The desert wasn't a barrier to them. It was their bridge to the world. And by studying these ancient trade routes, we gain a much deeper appreciation for the ingenuity, resilience, and interconnectedness of the people who called this incredible landscape home. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the trade networks of the ancient Southwest. It really changes how you see these places, doesn't it? If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next chapter in our journey. See you next time. As twilight descends upon the Verde Valley, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the world of the Sinagua transforms. Tonight, we journey back in time, not to witness their daily toil, but to feel the very soul of their existence. Welcome to Chapter 8. Ceremonies beneath the stars. Imagine the sun has dipped below the horizon, leaving the canyon walls cloaked in deep shadow. A profound darkness settles, a darkness unbroken by the glow of modern cities. It's in this pure, primal blackness that the real magic begins. One by one, fires are lit, their flames dancing against the ancient stone, casting long, flickering shadows that seem to move with a life of their own. This is not just for warmth or light. This is sacred fire, the heart of the ceremony. Then, the first beat, a single, resonant thud from a rawhide drum. It echoes off the canyon walls, a sound that feels less like a death being heard, and more like a death being felt deep within your chest. Another drum joins, then another, weaving a complex, hypnotic rhythm that seems to synchronize with the very heartbeat of the earth. The air, once still, now vibrates with this powerful pulse. It's a call to the community, a call to the spirits, a signal that something profound is about to unfold. Look up. Above the flickering firelight, a breathtaking canopy of stars stretches from one canyon rim to the other. To the Sinagua, this was not just a beautiful sight. It was a sacred map, a divine clock, and a calendar written in celestial light. They were master astronomers, observing the heavens with a patience and precision that is hard to comprehend. The movement of the constellations, the rising and setting of specific stars, dictated their lives. When a particular star group appeared on the horizon at dawn, they knew it was time to plant the corn. The position of the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters, might signal the time for harvest, a time of celebration and gratitude. The summer and winter solstices were not just astronomical events. They were moments of immense spiritual significance, marked by special ceremonies to honor the life-giving sun and the cyclical nature of existence. Their survival was directly tethered to these celestial cues. The stars told them when to sow, when to reap, and when to rest. It was a partnership, a sacred dialogue between the people on the land and the cosmos above. But their spiritual world extended far beyond the stars. The Sinagua lived in an animate universe, a world where everything possessed a spirit. The very stones of their dwellings were not just building materials. They held the memory and presence of those who had built them. The wind that whispered through the canyon was not just moving air. It was the breath of their ancestors, carrying messages, warnings, and wisdom. They believed that when a person passed on, their spirit didn't simply vanish. It remained, becoming part of the landscape they had so carefully tended. An ancestor's spirit might dwell in a towering rock formation, in the gnarled branches of a juniper tree, or into cool, life-giving waters of the Verde River. To walk through these canyons was to walk among family, among generations of spirits who continued to watch over and guide the living. Think about what that means. Every gust of wind could be a greeting from a great-grandmother. Every strangely shaped stone could hold the essence of a respected village elder. This belief fostered a profound respect for the natural world. They didn't see themselves as separate from or dominant over nature. They were an integral part of it, woven into a complex tapestry of life, death, and spirit. Their ceremonies, with the firelight, the drums, and the chanting, were a way to communicate within this living world, to honor the spirits of the land, the sky, and their ancestors. The ceremonies themselves were likely multifaceted. There would be dances, their movements telling ancient stories of creation, of heroes, and of the sacred relationship with the corn, the squash, and the beans, the three sisters that sustained them. Chants and songs, passed down through generations, would fill the night air, their melodies rising and falling with the rhythm of the drums. These were not performances in our modern sense. They were acts of participation, where every member of the community played a role. Their collective energy focused on a single purpose: to maintain balance, to show gratitude, and to ensure the continuation of life. Offerings would be made, perhaps finely ground cornmeal, a symbol of life and sustenance, sprinkled into the sacred fire. Perhaps precious turquoise or intricately woven textiles, given back to the earth, in a gesture of thanks for its bounty. These were acts of reciprocity, a recognition that for everything taken from the land, something must be given in return. It was a spiritual economy based on respect and gratitude, not on extraction. The spiritual leaders, the shamans, or priests, would have guided these rituals. They were the keepers of the sacred knowledge, the ones who could interpret the signs in the stars, communicate with the spirits, and lead the people in ceremony. They would have worn special regalia, perhaps adorned with feathers, shells, and stones, each element imbued with symbolic meaning and power. Through trance, chanting, or prayer, they would bridge the gap between the physical and spiritual worlds, ensuring harmony between the people and the cosmos. As the night wore on, under the silent watch of the Milky Way, the ceremony would reach its peak. The drumming would intensify. The dancing would become more energetic, the chanting more fervent. It was a powerful, all-encompassing experience, designed to dissolve the boundaries of the self and connect each individual to the greater whole, to their community, their ancestors, and the universe itself. And then, as the first hint of dawn began to lighten the eastern sky, the drums would slowly fall silent. The fires would be allowed to burn down to embers. A sense of peace and renewal would settle over the village. The ceremony was complete. The balance had been restored. The connection to the spirits had been reaffirmed. The people could face the new day with a renewed sense of purpose and a deep-seated confidence in their place within the world. To stand in these silent ruins today is to stand on holy ground. The spirits of the Sinagua may no longer have their voices carried on the wind in audible chants, but their presence remains. It's in the alignment of a sun-drenched doorway with the solstice sun. It's in the petroglyphs that mark the movements of the stars. And it's in the profound silence of the canyon at night, where, if you listen closely, you can almost hear the faint, lingering echo of a drumbeat, a timeless rhythm connecting the earth, the people, and the stars. Thank you so much for joining me on this spiritual journey into the heart of the Sinagua world. The story of these ancient people is a powerful reminder of our own connection to the world around us and the cosmos above. If you found this journey as fascinating as I did, Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into our shared human history. Your support makes all of this possible. We'll see you in the next chapter. Welcome back to our journey through the history of the ancient peoples of the American Southwest. Today, in Chapter 9, we're exploring the beautiful and mysterious world of Sinagua art, pottery, and symbolism. Let's delve into the creative spirit of a culture that left an indelible mark on the landscape. The Sinagua people, who thrived in central Arizona from about 600 to 1425 AD, were not only master farmers and builders, but also incredibly gifted artists. Their artistic achievements are a testament to a deep connection with their environment and a sophisticated worldview. When we think of Sinagua art, we often first picture their stunning pottery. But their creativity extended far beyond that, into intricate ornaments and textiles that tell the story of their daily lives and spiritual beliefs. Let's start with their most enduring legacy: pottery. The Sinagua produced several distinct types of pottery, most notably Alameda brownware. This wasn't just any plain brown pot. Imagine holding a piece of it. It's smooth, often polished to a beautiful sheen, and feels solid and earthy in your hands. But it's the decoration that truly captivates. The Sinagua were masters of geometric design. Their pots are adorned with intricate patterns of lines, zigzags, spirals, and triangles, painted with black, white, and red pigments. These weren't just random doodles. Each line and shape was deliberate. Think of a checkerboard pattern, not just as a design, but as a representation of the dualities of life, sun and shadow, earth and sky. Consider the recurring zigzag patterns. To our eyes, they're visually striking, but for the Sinagua, they likely symbolize something far more vital: lightning, and by extension, the life-giving rain it often brings. In a dry agricultural society, rain was everything. These geometric designs weren't confined to pottery. The Sinagua also wove textiles from cotton, which they grew in the Verde Valley. While few of these ancient fabrics have survived the centuries, the fragments we do have show the same love for pattern and precision. They created blankets, sandals, and bags, weaving their symbolic language into the very fabric of their daily existence. Beyond pottery and textiles, the Sinagua were also skilled carvers. They crafted ornaments from shell, bone, and stone, particularly a soft, reddish stone called art. Imagine delicate pendants carved into the shape of birds, lizards, or human figures. They traded 4 shells from the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of California, hundreds of miles away, and transformed them into intricate bracelets and necklaces. These weren't just jewelry. They were likely status symbols, protective amulets, or items used in important ceremonies. Each carved animal or shape held meaning. A bird might represent the sky world or freedom, while a frog or lizard could symbolize water and the earth. These weren't just decorations. They were a way of carrying their cosmology with them, a tangible connection to the spiritual forces they believed governed their world. This brings us to the core question: what did all these symbols mean? While we can't know for sure without a written language, archaeologists and cultural experts can make educated interpretations based on the symbol's context, and by looking at the beliefs of modern Pueblo peoples who are descendants of these ancient cultures. Many of these designs are thought to be prayers or invocations. A spiral might symbolize the journey of life or the movement of water. A stepped pyramid design could represent clouds stacking up before a storm, a powerful symbol of hope for rain. The frequent depiction of animals and human-like figures suggests a deep connection to the natural and spiritual worlds. Some figures might represent Katsinas or other spiritual beings who acted as intermediaries between humans and the divine. The concept of fertility was central. This wasn't just about having children, but the fertility of the land itself. Symbols for rain, corn, and seeds were everywhere, a constant visual reminder of the cycle of planting, growth, and harvest that sustained them. Patterns on a pot weren't just pretty. They were a prayer for a good harvest. A carved shell wasn't just an accessory. It might have been a charm to ensure the health of a family or the community. What's truly remarkable about Sinagua art is how beauty and utility were completely intertwined. There was no separation between art and everyday objects. A water jug was not just a container. It was a canvas, A weaving was not just for warmth. It was a story. A stone axe was not just a tool. Its smooth, polished form showed a respect for the material and the craftsmanship. This philosophy speaks volumes about their culture. It shows a mindfulness and an intention in everything they created. Life was hard, but it was also filled with beauty. They took the raw materials of their environment, clay from the earth, stone from the hills, cotton from their fields, and transformed them into objects that were both functional and profoundly beautiful. Every object they made was an expression of their identity, their beliefs, and their place in the cosmos. In every pot, every textile, and every small carving, the Sinagua blended the practical with the sacred. Their art was a living, breathing part of their world, a way of beautifying their surroundings, while simultaneously communicating with the spiritual forces that shaped their existence. They didn't just build homes. They built a world rich with meaning and artistry. As we look at these ancient objects in museums today, it's important to remember that they are more than just artifacts. They are the voices of the Sinagua, speaking to us across the centuries. They tell a story of resilience, creativity, and a worldview where art was not a luxury, but an essential part of life itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the art of the Sinagua. It's a privilege to share these stories with you. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue exploring the ancient world with us, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next chapter. Welcome, Bike History Explorers. In our journey through the story of Montezuma Castle, we focused on this magnificent structure. But what if I told you the castle wasn't alone? It was actually the vibrant center of a much larger world, a bustling network of communities tucked into the cliffs and canyons of the Verde Valley. Today, we're venturing beyond the castle walls to discover its hidden neighbors. Imagine, for a moment, that you're standing on one of the upper terraces of Montezuma Castle, looking out across the landscape. You see the creek below, the sycamore trees, and the vast expanse of the Arizona desert. But if you knew where to look, you'd see more. You'd see signs of life, hints of other homes built into the very same limestone cliffs. The people who lived here were not isolated. They were part of a thriving society. Just a short distance away, about 11 miles upstream, lies another significant site known as Montezuma. Well, it's a natural limestone sinkhole, fed by a continuously flowing spring. Around its rim and even inside its caves, you'll find more dwellings. This place was a vital resource, providing a constant source of water for irrigation, a precious commodity in this arid land. The canals they built, some of which are still visible today, are a testament to their incredible engineering skills. The well wasn't just a water source, it was a sacred place, a spiritual center that connected the communities throughout the valley. But the network extends far beyond the well. If you were to explore the surrounding canyons, like Wet Beaver Creek and Clear Creek, you'd find dozens of smaller sites. Some are just a few rooms tucked into an alcove, perhaps home to a single family. Others are larger, with 10 to 20 rooms. Archaeologists refer to these as pueblitos, or little villages. Each one was a piece of the puzzle, a node in a complex social web. What's truly fascinating is that many of these sites remain unexcavated. They are hidden away, protected by the rugged terrain, their stories still waiting to be told. Can you picture it? A small cliff dwelling, nestled high up in a remote canyon, that has been sitting undisturbed for centuries. These places are like time capsules, holding secrets about the daily lives, the struggles, and the triumphs of the people who called this valley home. Exploring these areas requires respect and a sense of wonder, as we are guests in a land that holds deep cultural significance. So, how were all these communities connected? They were bound together by threads of kinship, trade, and shared beliefs. They likely spoke the same language, or closely related dialects, allowing for easy communication. They shared agricultural techniques, learning from each other how to best cultivate corn, beans, and squash in this challenging environment. Trade was also essential. We find evidence of pottery, tools, and materials being exchanged between these different villages. A pot made in one pueblo might end up in a home miles away. This exchange wasn't just about physical goods. It was also about ideas and rituals. They shared a common understanding of the world, a spiritual connection to the land, the water, and the sky. Important ceremonies might have drawn people from all the surrounding villages, gathering at a central location like Montezuma Castle or the Sacred Well. These gatherings would have been vital for reinforcing social bonds, arranging marriages, and maintaining the harmony of their society. They were a collective, a unified culture spread across a wide geographic area, working together to thrive. Think of Montezuma Castle not as a solitary fortress, but as the crown jewel of this network. It was likely the largest and most prominent of the cliff dwellings in the immediate area, a central hub of activity. Its sheer size and impressive construction would have made it a landmark, a symbol of the ingenuity and resilience of the people. Perhaps it was the home of important clan leaders or the site of major regional ceremonies. Its residents were not just inhabitants of one building. They were citizens of a wider Verde Valley society. This interconnectedness is key to understanding their success. By working together, these communities could support each other in times of drought or hardship. They could pool their labor for large construction projects, like building irrigation canals or new dwellings, and they could defend themselves more effectively against any potential threats. This sense of community, this network of hidden neighbors, was their greatest strength. It allowed them to flourish in this beautiful but demanding landscape for centuries. So the next time you look at a picture of Montezuma Castle, don't just see a single, isolated structure. See it as the heart of a living, breathing community that stretched 4 miles along the creeks and canyons. See the farmers tending their fields, the traders walking the paths between villages, and the families gathered around their hearths. The story of the castle is the story of a people, connected and resilient. Thank you so much for joining me on this deeper dive into the world of Montezuma Castle as hidden neighbors. It's a reminder that history is often more complex and interconnected than it first appears. If you enjoyed this journey, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next chapter. We appreciate your support more than you know. Until next time, keep exploring. Welcome back, history lovers, to our final chapter in the saga of Montezuma Castle. We've explored its construction, the daily lives of the Sinagua, and their incredible ingenuity. But now, we arrive at the most profound question of all. Why did they leave? This is Chapter 11. The Mysterious Departure. Imagine this bustling community, a vibrant hub of life carved into a cliffside, suddenly falling silent. Around the year 1400, after centuries of occupation, the Sinagua people walked away from Montezuma Castle, and they never returned. The echoes of children's laughter, the rhythmic grinding of corn, the murmur of stories told around the fire all vanished, replaced by the whisper of the wind through empty rooms. What could compel an entire society to abandon such a magnificent home? This question has puzzled archaeologists and historians for generations, and there isn't one simple answer. Instead, we have a tapestry of compelling theories, each offering a piece of the puzzle. Let's start with the most persistent force in the American Southwest: water, or the lack of it. One of the leading theories is a prolonged and severe drought. We know from tree-earing data that the late 13th and 14th centuries saw significant climate shifts across the region. The Sinagua were expert farmers, masters of irrigation, who made the desert bloom. But even their sophisticated systems would have been no match for a decades-long drought. Verde River, the lifeblood of their valley, may have dwindled. The springs they relied on could have run dry. Imagine watching your crops wither season after season, your food stores shrink, and the very source of your survival disappear. The decision to leave wouldn't have been a choice, but a necessity. It's a stark reminder of how even the most resilient cultures are ultimately at the mercy of the environment. Faced with starvation, migration to a more fertile land would have been the only logical path forward. But environmental pressure is often just one part of the story. Another theory points to conflict. As resources like water and arable land became scarcer, competition would have intensified. While the Sinagua were generally a peaceful people, the stress of a changing world could have led to friction with neighboring groups. The castle itself, built high in a defensive cliff face, suggests that security was a concern. Perhaps a rival tribe, also desperate for resources, began to encroach on their territory. The strain of constant vigilance, the threat of raids, and the potential loss of life might have made staying untenable. Leaving their fortress would have been a strategic retreat, a way to preserve their people and seek peace elsewhere. There's no definitive archaeological evidence of a major battle at the castle itself. But the absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. The conflict might have been a slow burn of skirmishes and threats that eventually wore them down. Then there's the idea of migration, not as a desperate escape, but as a more structured, perhaps even spiritual, journey. The history of the ancestral Pueblan peoples is one of movement. They were not static. Cultures shifted, merged, and moved across the vast landscape of the Southwest. It's possible the Sinagua of Montezuma Castle simply followed this ancient pattern. They may have received word from kin, or followed charismatic leaders to new settlements. Modern Hopi oral traditions speak of their ancestors migrating through various worlds or homes as part of a long, cyclical journey. From this perspective, leaving Montezuma Castle wasn't an abandonment, but the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. The castle had served its purpose, and it was time to move on. This theory transforms the mystery from a tragedy into a continuation of a grand cultural narrative. Finally, we must consider the possibility of internal cultural transformation. Perhaps the reason for leaving wasn't external at all. Societies evolve. Belief systems change. A new religious movement, or a profound shift in their social structure, could have rendered the castle obsolete in their worldview. Maybe a prophecy dictated that it was time to move, or their ceremonial life required a new kind of space that the cliff dwelling could no longer provide. This idea is perhaps the most difficult to prove with artifacts, as it deals with the intangible realm of beliefs and ideas. But it's a powerful one. It suggests that the Sinagua weren't just reacting to their environment, but were active agents in their own destiny, making a conscious choice to redefine their community in a new place. Perhaps they merged with other groups, and what we see as an abandonment was actually an assimilation, a blending of their culture into the fabric of what would become the modern Pueblan peoples of the region. So, what are we left with? Drought, conflict, migration, cultural change. The most likely answer is that it wasn't one of these things, but a complex combination of all of them. Imagine a perfect storm. A crippling drought strained their resources, which in turn sparked conflict with neighbors. At the same time, cultural leaders may have interpreted these hardships as a sign that it was time to fulfill a long-held tradition of migration. One factor would have compounded the others until the decision to leave became inevitable. And so, we stand before these silent walls, a place where human voices once filled every space. The mystery of their departure is what makes Montezuma Castle so captivating. It's a story without an ending written down for us to read. The rooms are empty, the fires are cold, and the people are gone. All that remains is their incredible creation, a testament to their time here, and a silent message sent across the centuries. The ruins are not just a relic of the past. They are an open question. They ask us to think about our own relationship with the environment, with our neighbors, and with the idea of home. What makes a place a home? And what would it take for us to leave it all behind? The Sinagua left us no written records, only these magnificent, empty structures. Their story is written in stone and mortar, in the placement of every beam and the curve of every wall. As we conclude our journey, the silence of Montezuma Castle speaks volumes. It reminds us that civilizations, no matter how advanced or resilient, are fragile. It invites us to listen closely to the whispers of the past and to respect the profound mysteries that history holds. The Sinagua may be gone from this valley, but their legacy endures, challenging and inspiring us to this day. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible exploration of Montezuma Castle. I hope you've enjoyed uncovering the stories held within these ancient walls. If you found this journey as fascinating as I did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the mysteries of our world. Your support makes all of this possible. Until next time, keep exploring. Welcome back to our journey through history. Today, in Chapter 12, we explored the living legacy of the ancient Sinagua people and their profound connection to the present. It's a story not just of stones and artifacts, but of spirit memory, an enduring identity, titled Echoes of the Hope. Have you ever wondered what happened to the people who built the incredible cliff dwellings and pueblos we've explored? Where did they go? The answer isn't that they vanished. It's that they migrated, evolved, and their descendants are still here today. Many modern Puebloan groups, including the Hopi, Zuni, and various Rio Grande Pueblo peoples, trace their ancestry back to the ancient ones who inhabited this region, including the Sinagua. For these communities, the connection isn't a historical theory, it's a living reality, a core part of their identity. The Hopi, for example, refer to these ancient inhabitants as he. This term doesn't just mean ancestors in a distant, genealogical sense. It translates more closely to the ancient people or people of long ago. It carries a deep sense of respect and acknowledges a direct, unbroken line of cultural and spiritual inheritance. The Haisatsinam are not a lost civilization. They are the foundation upon which modern Hopi life is built. When a Hopi person looks at a site like Montezuma Castle or Tuzagut, they don't just see a ruin. They see a footprint of their own past, a place where their ancestors lived, prayed, and farmed. They see the physical manifestation of their clan histories. This perspective is vital because it transforms these archaeological sites from static monuments into active, sacred landscapes. These aren't just places to be studied. They are places to be respected as ancestral homes. So, how is this connection maintained across centuries? The primary vehicle is oral history. In Puebloan cultures, history is not primarily written in books. It is carried in stories, songs, and ceremonies, passed down meticulously from one generation to the next. These oral traditions are incredibly detailed and serve as a map of their people's journey through time and space. These histories tell of epic migrations. They describe how various clans traveled across the landscape, guided by spiritual prophecies, searching for their destined home, their center place. The stories recount the founding of villages, the reasons for leaving them, and the lessons learned along the way. Archaeologists have found that these oral histories often align remarkably well with the physical evidence they uncover. The establishment and eventual abandonment of sites fit perfectly within the narrative framework of these clan migrations. For example, a Hopi clan might have a story that details their ancient migration path, mentioning specific landmarks, types of farming they practiced, and the social dynamics of the time. An archaeologist excavating a Sinagua site might then find pottery with symbols specific to that clan, evidence of the same farming techniques and settlement patterns that match the oral account. It's a powerful convergence of science and tradition, where spoken history breathes life into silent artifacts. This spiritual continuity is the heart of the matter. The beliefs, values, and worldview of the Hizosinam are still present in modern Puebloan life. The Katsina faith, a central element of Hopi and Zuni spirituality, involves divine beings who act as intermediaries between the human world and the spirit world. The origins of many of these Katsinas and their ceremonies are tied to the pre-Columbian era, to the time of the petroglyphs we see etched into the rocks near Sinagua sites are not just ancient art. They are spiritual texts, markers of clan identity, and records of cosmological events that are still understood and revered today. When we visit these ancestral Puebloan sites, it is crucial to do so with this understanding. We are not just walking through an abandoned city, we are walking through someone's heritage. The pottery sherds on the ground are fragments of a family's dinnerware. The pictographs on the walls are pages from a sacred book. This respectful approach, acknowledging the indigenous perspective, is essential. It moves us from being mere tourists to being thoughtful guests in a place that continues to hold immense spiritual significance for living people. The Hopi Cultural Preservation Office, for instance, works closely with archaeologists and land managers to ensure that these ancestral sites are treated with the proper respect. They provide cultural context, share their traditional knowledge, and help interpret the findings in a way that honors their ancestors. This collaboration is a beautiful example of how science and indigenous wisdom can work together to create a much richer, more complete picture of the past. The story of the Sinagua, therefore, doesn't end with the abandonment of their villages in the 15th century. That wasn't an ending, but a transition. Their journey continued. They moved, merged with other groups, and carried their culture, their language, and their spirit forward. When you see a Hopi farmer planting corn today, you are seeing a practice that connects directly back to the Hizosinam, who farmed the Verde Valley 1,000 years ago. When you hear a traditional Puebloan song, you are hearing echoes of melodies that once filled the plazas of Tusagut and Wap. The echoes of the Hopi and of all Puebloan peoples remind us that the past is never truly past. It lives on in stories, in ceremonies, in the land itself, and most importantly, in tea people. The Hisasinum are still with us, their legacy woven into the vibrant tapestry of modern Puebloan life. It is a powerful testament to the resilience of culture and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration. Understanding these living connections enriches our appreciation for history and fosters a deeper respect for the cultures that continue to thrive today. If you found this video meaningful, please give it a like, and you won't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next chapter. We'll see you next time. For centuries, the cliff dwellings lay hidden, silent witnesses to a vanished people. But then, the world changed. The 19th century brought a new wave of people to the American Southwest. Settlers, prospectors, and cowboys pushing westward, seeking new lives and fortunes. Imagine you're one of them, a rancher named Richard Wetherill, or perhaps Charlie Mason, riding through a remote canyon in the winter of 1888. You're tracking stray cattle, your eyes scanning the rugged landscape. Suddenly, through the swirling snow, you see it, perched high up in a massive cliff alcove. Something impossible. It's not a natural formation. It's a structure. A building, a veritable stone city, tucked into the rock as if by magic. You can almost hear their gasps of astonishment. They'd later describe it as a magnificent city, a castle protected by the overhanging cliff. The sheer scale and complexity were baffling. Who could have built such a thing? And why here, in this seemingly inaccessible location? They weren't archaeologists or historians. They were ordinary men confronted with something extraordinary. Their minds raced, trying to connect this incredible discovery to what little they knew of ancient American history. The most famous and powerful empire they'd heard of was the Aztecs, far to the south in Mexico. And so, the first great misinterpretation was born. They looked at this grand structure and named it Montezuma Castle, believing it must have been a northern outpost built by the legendary Aztec emperor, Montezuma. It was a romantic, exciting theory, but it was completely wrong. The people who built this home had left centuries before the Aztec Empire even reached its peak. The name, however, stuck for a long time, weaving a tale of distant emperors and lost tribes that captured the public's imagination. This initial misunderstanding highlights just how profoundly the memory of the ancestral Puebloans had faded from the land. The news spread like wildfire. Cowboys, miners, and adventurers flocked to see these mysterious cliff castles for themselves. Their intentions weren't always scientific. Driven by a mix of genuine curiosity and the hope of finding treasure, these early visitors scrambled up the cliffs. They were completely unprepared for the delicate nature of what they were exploring. They walked through rooms that had been untouched for over 500 years, their heavy boots scuffing floors smoothed by ancient feet. They touched walls still bearing the handprints of their builders, and unfortunately, many saw the artifacts left behind not as priceless historical records, but as souvenirs. This was the era of pot hunting. People dug indiscriminately, searching for beautifully crafted pottery, tools, and personal items. They broke through walls and cleared out rooms, looking for anything valuable they could carry away. Imagine the scene. A kiva, a sacred ceremonial chamber, being ransacked for its contents. Woven baskets, delicate yucca sandals, and stone tools that could tell us so much about daily life were snatched up, their context and history lost forever. Priceless artifacts ended up on mantelpieces in distant towns, or were sold to collectors, scattered to the winds. This early period of rediscovery was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it brought the existence of these incredible sites to the world's attention. Without those first cowboys stumbling upon them, they might have remained hidden even longer. But on the other hand, this initial, unregulated rush caused irreparable damage. Every pot taken, every wall damaged, was a piece of the puzzle lost. It was like tearing pages out of a history book before anyone had a chance to read it. The very act of finding this lost world nearly led to its second and final destruction. It became clear very quickly that if these treasures were to be saved, Something had to be done to protect them from the very people who were so fascinated by them. The era of casual looting was about to give way to the dawn of American archaeology and historic preservation. Thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying this journey back in time, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more chapters of this incredible story. We'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to our journey through the history of Montezuma Castle. In this chapter, we arrive at a pivotal moment, a turning point that saved this incredible structure from ruin and ushered in a new era of respect for America's ancient past. The year is 1906, and the story of preservation begins. For centuries, Montezuma Castle stood silent, a magnificent relic of a bygone era. But as the American West was settled, the site faced new threats. Looters and treasure hunters, driven by romantic notions of lost cities and hidden gold, descended upon the ruins. They weren't interested in history. They were looking for artifacts to sell or keep as curiosities. Walls were damaged, floors were dug up, and priceless objects that held the stories of the Sinagua people were scattered and lost forever. The very fabric of the castle was being torn apart, piece by piece. It was a race against time, and without intervention. This irreplaceable link to our continent's history was in danger of disappearing completely. Imagine the scene. People climbing fragile ladders, chipping away at 800-year-old plaster, and carrying off pottery that had lain undisturbed for generations. This was the harsh reality before the concept of historical preservation took root. The damage was not just physical. It was a profound loss of knowledge. Every potsherd tells a story. Every tool reveals a detail about daily life. When these items are removed without proper documentation, the story is silenced, and the context is erased. The castle was being treated not as a sacred, historic site, but as a quarry for souvenirs. It became clear that if this treasure was to survive for future generations, something had to be done. Just in the nick of time, a new consciousness was dawning in America, championed by a president with a deep love for the nation's natural and historical wonders. Theodore Roosevelt, a true visionary and conservationist. Roosevelt recognized that places like Montezuma Castle were not just old ruins. They were cornerstones of the American story, as important as any battlefield or presidential home. He understood that these sites belonged to all people for all time. In 1906, leveraging the newly passed Antiquities Act, President Roosevelt took decisive action. He declared Montezuma Castle a national monument. This was a monumental step, placing it under the protection of the federal government. It was one of the very first sites to receive this designation, making it a pioneer in the American preservation movement. This declaration was more than just a piece of paper. It was a shield. It legally prohibited the looting and vandalism that had plagued the site for decades. It was a statement to the nation and the world that this place mattered, that its history was valuable, and that its future was now secure. The designation of Montezuma Castle as a national monument marked a profound shift in how Americans viewed their past. The era of the reckless treasure hunter was coming to an end, and the age of scientific archaeology was beginning. No longer was it a free-for-all for anyone with a shovel and a sense of adventure. Now, the study of the site would be led by professional archaeologists and historians who approached it with respect and a desire for knowledge, not profit. Their tools weren't picks and dynamite. They were trowels, brushes, and notebooks. Their goal wasn't to take, but to understand. They began the slow, meticulous process of documenting, stabilizing, and interpreting the site. This new scientific approach transformed our understanding of the Sinagua people. Instead of just seeing an empty, mysterious cliff dwelling, archaeologists began to piece together the puzzle of daily life. They analyzed pollen samples to understand the ancient environment and diet. They studied the construction techniques to appreciate the incredible engineering skills of the builders. They carefully excavated and cataloged artifacts, learning about trade networks, social structures, and spiritual beliefs. The castle was no longer just a curiosity. It was becoming a classroom, teaching us profound lessons about human ingenuity, adaptation, and resilience in the Verde Valley. With federal protection in place, the first major efforts to stabilize the structure could begin. Over the centuries, the natural forces of wind, rain, and erosion had taken their toll. The wooden beams, the adobe mortar, and the stone walls were all vulnerable. Early preservationists faced a daunting task. How do you repair an 800-year-old building perched on the side of a cliff without compromising its historical integrity? It was a new and challenging field. They experimented with techniques to reinforce weakened walls, repair roofs, and prevent further decay, all while trying to make the interventions as invisible as possible. These early stabilization projects were crucial. They halted the immediate threats of collapse and laid the groundwork for the ongoing preservation work that continues to this day. Every crack filled, every beam braced, was a victory for the future. It ensured that the castle would not just be a memory or a photograph, but a physical place that people could continue to visit and experience. It was a commitment made over a century ago to keep the story of Montezuma Castle alive for you and for me. The work was painstaking, but it reflected a deep sense of stewardship and responsibility. The declaration by Roosevelt did more than just save a building. It saved a legacy. By protecting Montezuma Castle, it ensured that the story of the Sinagua people would not be forgotten. It allowed for a space where their descendants and all of us can connect with a deep and rich history. Today, when you stand at the base of the cliff and look up at that incredible structure, you are witnessing the direct result of that foresight from 1906. You are seeing a piece of history that was pulled back from the brink of destruction. It stands as a testament to the power of preservation and the idea that our shared heritage is worth protecting. It's a legacy of respect for the past and a gift to the future. The story of Montezuma Castle is a powerful reminder that history is fragile, and it is our collective responsibility to act as its guardians. Theodore Roosevelt's signature on that declaration was the moment the tide turned, ensuring that this chapter of human history would continue to be told for centuries to come. Thank you so much for joining me for this crucial part of the castle's story. The fight to preserve history is ongoing, and it's a story we all play a part in. If you're enjoying this series, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into our fascinating past. We'll see you in the next chapter. Hello and welcome back to our journey through the wonders of the American Southwest. Today, we re-venturing just a short drive from Montezuma Castle to a place that feels like a hidden oasis, a secret world, brimming with life and history. This is Chapter 15. Montezuma, well, the sacred sinkhole. As we approach, the landscape gives little clue to the spectacle that awaits. But then, you see it. A massive, circular depression in the earth. A limestone sinkhole, cradling a pool of unbelievably clear, deep blue water. This isn't just any pond. Montezuma Well is a geological marvel. It's fed continuously by underground springs, with over 1.5 million gallons of water flowing through it every single day. The water maintains a constant temperature, creating a unique microenvironment that has sustained life here for millennia. Take a moment and just listen. The quiet hum of insects, the gentle rustle of leaves, the constant, subtle flow of water. It's a sound that has echoed here for centuries. This place was a lifeline for the ancient Sinagua people, the same culture that built the nearby cliff dwellings. For them, this well wasn't just a source of water. It was the very heart of their community. It was a sacred place, a gift from the earth that made their survival in this arid landscape possible. Look closely along the rim and down towards the outlet. You can still trace the paths of ancient irrigation canals, painstakingly dug by hand 1,000 years ago. These aren't just ditches. They are masterpieces of prehistoric engineering. The Sinagua people channeled the well's constant outflow to water their crops of corn, beans, and squash in the valley below. You can almost picture them, working together, guiding the life-giving water to their fields. These canals are a tangible link to their ingenuity and their deep understanding of the land. They knew that water was life, and they managed this precious resource with incredible skill and respect. As you walk the paved trail around the rim, you'll also notice several small cliff dwellings tucked into the rock face. Imagine living here, with this incredible view and a constant source of fresh water right at your doorstep. Life would have been intimately tied to the rhythms of the well. The water level never changes. The flow never stops. This reliability must have seemed like a miracle, a divine assurance in a world of uncertainty. It's no wonder this site holds such profound spiritual significance. It's a place where the physical and the spiritual worlds meet, where the life-sustaining properties of water are woven into the very fabric of belief. Now, let's talk about the unique ecosystem here. The water in Montezuma Well is highly carbonated and has high levels of arsenic, which means that no fish can survive in the main pool. But life, as they say, finds a way. The well is home to several endemic species creatures, found nowhere else on Earth. This includes a unique type of a tiny shrimp-like creature, and a species of leech. It's a fascinating, self-contained world, a living laboratory of evolution that has been isolated for thousands of years. It reminds us that even in seemingly harsh conditions, life can adapt and thrive in the most extraordinary ways. Let's descend the stone steps to the water's edge. Down here, the air feels cooler, more humid. You're at the source, the swallet, where the water emerges from the earth. You can feel the energy of the place, a sense of timelessness. This constant flow connects us directly to the vast underground aquifers, a hidden world beneath our feet. For ancient peoples, and for many cultures today, such springs are portals, gateways to the underworld or the spirit realm. Standing near it, you can understand why. It feels like you're on the threshold of something ancient and powerful. The water that exits the well flows through a channel or a swallet into nearby Wet Beaver Creek. And here, the chemistry changes. As the water mixes and aerates, it can suddenly support a wider variety of life, including fish. This transition zone is a powerful symbol of how different elements come together to create a thriving, diverse ecosystem. It's a lesson in balance and connection. The connection between water, life, and sacred geography is the core story of Montezuma. Well, this isn't just a geological feature. It's a cultural and spiritual anchor. It's a place that teaches us about resilience, adaptation, and the profound human need to find and honor the sources of life. The Sinagua people didn't just use this water. They lived in harmony with it. Their dwellings, their agriculture, and likely their ceremonies, all revolved around this sacred pool. As we make our way back up, take one last look at this incredible sight. Think about the generations of people who have stood in this very spot, gazing into the same deep blue water, feeling the same sense of awe and gratitude. Montezuma Well is more than just a beautiful stop on a road trip. It's a living museum and a sacred site that continues to inspire wonder. It challenges us to think about our own relationship with water and the natural resources we depend on. Are we managing them with the same care and foresight as the people who dug those canals 1,000 years ago? This place serves as a powerful reminder that in the desert, water is everything. It is the architect of landscapes, the sustainer of life, and the source of spiritual belief. Visiting Montezuma Well feels like stepping into a story that began long before us, and will continue long after we're gone. A story of water, of life, and of the enduring connection between humans and the sacred earth. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of Montezuma. Well, it's truly a special place that offers so much to see and contemplate. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue our journey, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Until then, keep exploring. Imagine this with me. You're walking a paved trail, shaded by ancient Arizona. You look up, and there it is, carved into the sheer limestone cliff face, a structure so incredible, it almost seems like a mirage. This is Montezuma Castle, and today, life has returned in a new and profound way. For nearly 600 years after the last of the Sinagua people departed, this place stood silent, a ghost city in the desert sky. The only sounds were the whisper of the wind through the canyon and the cry of a lone hawk. It was a monument to a forgotten time, its stories locked away in stone and adobe. But look around now. The silence is gone, replaced by the gentle murmur of voices from all over the world. People stand where I'm standing, their heads tilted back, eyes wide with a shared sense of wonder. You can hear the soft clicks of cameras trying to capture a fraction of its majesty. Children whisper questions to their parents. How did they get up there? Did kids live there too? It's a living classroom, a place where history isn't just read about in books. It's felt. The trail winds beneath the cliff, following the gentle curve of Beaver Creek. The path itself is a timeline. Each step takes you further into the past, yet you're surrounded by the vibrant life of the present. Families push strollers, couples hold hands, and history enthusiasts pause to read the informational plaques, their faces lit with curiosity. The castle, once a private home for a few dozen families, now welcomes thousands of visitors a year, sharing its legacy with each and every one. It has become a sanctuary, not just for the swifts and bats that have reclaimed the high ledges, but for people seeking a moment of peace. In our fast-paced, noisy world, a place like this offers a rare chance to slow down, to breathe, and to connect with something ancient and enduring. You see people sitting quietly on the benches, not talking, just looking. They're not just observing a ruin. They're contemplating the resilience of the human spirit, the flow of time, and their own place within it. Close your eyes for a moment and just listen. What do you hear? Beyond the human voices, there's a deeper, more ancient soundtrack. Listen to the wind as it funnels through the canyon, a low, steady hum that has sung this same song for millennia. It has the same wind that would have cooled the Sinagua farmers as they tended their crops on the floodplain below. Now, tune in to the rustling of the cottonwood and sycamore leaves. It's a sound like gentle applause, a constant, soothing whisper that blankets the entire site. These trees are descendants of the same ones that provided wood for the ladders and roof beams of the castle itself. Their leaves have witnessed the coming and going of generations. And then there are the birds, the cheerful chatter of a Verde, the coo of a morning dove, the sharp call of a canyon wren echoing off the rock face. Their songs weave a tapestry of sound, a testament to the rich ecosystem that has always thrived here along the creek. This riparian area is an oasis, a ribbon of green life cutting through the stark beauty of the high desert. The birdsong is a reminder that this was never an empty place. It has always been teeming with life. When you combine these sounds, the wind, the leaves, the birds, the distant flow of the creek, you get the true soundscape of Montezuma Castle. It's a symphony of peace, a natural melody that cleanses the soul. It's the sound of permanence. It's in these quiet moments, listening to the desert air, that you can almost feel it. It's a subtle presence, a gentle energy lingering in the canyon. It's the spirit of the Sinagua people. They are not gone. Their legacy is in the carefully laid stones of the castle walls, in the faint traces of handprints, in the adobe mortar, in the ingenious design that has allowed this structure to survive for 8 centuries. You can feel their ingenuity when you consider how they carried water, stone, and wood up that sheer cliff. You can feel their sense of community when you imagine families gathered in the central plaza, sharing stories as the sun set over the western bluffs. You can feel their connection to the land in the way the castle seems to be a natural extension of the cliff itself, born from the rock rather than simply built upon it. This place is more than just an archaeological site. It's a bridge across time. Standing here, you are connected to those who lived here so long ago. Their joys, their struggles, their daily lives, it all feels incredibly close. The desert air itself seems to hold their memory, a gentle echo of a resilient people who built a home in the heart of a cliff. So, as the sun begins to dip lower, casting long shadows across the valley, the castle seems to glow, absorbing the last of the day's golden light. The modern visitors begin to depart, their footsteps soft on the trail, their minds filled with images of the past. They carry with them a newfound respect for the people who called this incredible place home. Life has returned to the castle, not in the form of its original inhabitants, but through us, through our AOB, our curiosity, and our respect. We are the new guardians of its story, tasked with ensuring that the spirit of the Sinagua and the majesty of their home continue to inspire generations to come. This is not just a monument to the past. It's a living beacon of peace, reflection, and enduring human connection. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this as inspiring as I do, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the incredible history that surrounds us. Until next time, keep exploring. Hey everyone, and welcome back to our journey through time. Today, we're diving headfirst into the dirt, literally, with Chapter 17. Archaeology and New Discoveries. Forget what you've seen in the movies. Modern archaeology isn't just about dusty tombs and golden idols. It is a high-tech science that allows us to listen to the whispers of the past like never before. So, grab your trowels and brushes. because we're about to uncover some incredible secrets. So, how do archaeologists actually piece together the story of our ancestors? It often starts with something as simple as a broken piece of pottery. These aren't just old fragments, they're puzzle pieces. The style, the material, the way it was made, all of it tells us about the people who used it. Were they farmers? Traders? Artists? A single shard can reveal trade routes, culinary habits, and even the social structure of a long-lost community. Then we have tools. Stone axes, flint arrowheads, bone needles. These were the everyday essentials of ancient life. By studying them, we can understand how people hunted, wate-ate, and how they clothed themselves, where patterns on a stone tool can tell us if it was used for scraping hides or carving wood. It's like reading the resume of someone who lived 10,000 years ago. These humble objects are intimate windows into the daily struggles and triumphs of our forebears. And of course, sir, there are human remains. Skeletons are biological archives. They can tell us about an individual's age, diet, health, and sometimes even their cause of death. By analyzing teeth, for instance, scientists can determine the types of food people ate and whether they suffered from malnutrition. Bones can show evidence of diseases or healed injuries, giving us a powerful, personal glimpse into the challenges of ancient life. It's a profound connection to a real person from the distant past. Now, let's talk about the game-changing technology that has revolutionized archaeology. First up is radiocarbon dating. You've probably heard of it, but how does it work? Essentially, all living things absorb carbon, including a tiny amount of radioactive carbon-14. When an organism dies, it stops absorbing carbon, and the carbon-14 starts to decay at a predictable rate. By measuring the amount of carbon-14 left in an organic object like a bone, a piece of wood, or a seed, we can calculate how long ago it died. This technique gives us a real, tangible timeline, turning guesswork into science and allowing us to date finds up to 50,000 years old with incredible accuracy. Next, let's dig into stratigraphy. Imagine a layered cake. The bottom layer was put down first, and the top layer last. Archaeology works in a similar way. The ground is made up of layers, or strata, that have built up over centuries or millennia. The deeper you dig, the older the layers are. This is the fundamental principle of stratigraphy. So, if we find a certain style of pottery in a lower layer and a different style in a higher one, we know the first style is older. When combined with radiocarbon dating, stratigraphy allows us to build a detailed, chronological sequence of human activity at a particular site. It's how we create a timeline for a whole city, not just a single object. But before we even put a shovel in the ground, modern archaeologists are taking to the skies. Drone mapping has completely transformed how we find and survey sites. Drones equipped with high-resolution cameras and LiDAR, which is like radar but with light, can scan vast landscapes in a fraction of the time it would take on foot. They can detect subtle changes in the ground, like the outlines of buried buildings, ancient roads, or forgotten agricultural fields that are completely invisible to the naked eye. This technology helps us identify promising areas to excavate, saving time and resources while creating incredibly detailed 3D models of entire archaeological sites. It's like having a superpower to see through the surface of the earth. So, what have these technologies truly revealed? They've completely reshaped our understanding of history. Radiocarbon dating has pushed back the timelines for major human milestones, like the development of agriculture and the first migrations out of Africa. It has helped us date incredible finds, like Xia, the Iceman, a stunningly preserved 5,300-year-old mummy found in the Alps, giving us an unprecedented snapshot of life in the Copper Age. Stratigraphy, combined with the analysis of pollen and seeds found in different layers, has allowed us to reconstruct ancient environments. We can learn about climate change in the past, see how forests turned into grasslands, and understand how these changes impacted human societies, forcing them to adapt or move. It shows us that our ancestors were constantly responding to a changing world, just as we are today. And with drone mapping, we're discovering lost cities hidden in dense jungles, like the vast network of Mayan settlements recently identified in Guatemala. These finds show that ancient populations were often far larger and more complex than we ever imagined. Technology isn't just confirming what we already know. It's revealing entirely new chapters of the human story that were hidden right under our feet. In essence, these modern tools are like a hearing aid for history. The past is always whispering through a broken pot, a discarded tool, or the very soil itself. For centuries, we could only catch faint murmurs. But now, with radiocarbon dating, stratigraphy, and drone mapping, we can hear those whispers more clearly than ever. We're piecing together a richer, more detailed, and more human story of our shared ancestors. Archaeology shows us not just where we came from, but also the incredible resilience and ingenuity that defines our species. The next time you see a field or a forest, just imagine the stories that might be waiting just beneath the surface. Thanks so much for joining me on this exploration. The story of humanity is the greatest detective story ever told, and we are living in the golden age of discovery. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next chapter. See you next time. Welcome, traveler, to this quiet corner of the world, to the heart of the desert's memory. Today, we begin chapter 18. Find a comfortable place, let your body relax, and allow your mind to journey with me into the vast, silent expanse. Here, under the endless sky, the earth itself holds the stories of ages. We are surrounded by sentinels of stone, ancient cliffs, and weathered formations that have stood watch for millennia. They are the silent historians of this land. Let's begin by reflecting on the endurance of this stone, on its profound and patient silence. Touch the surface of a rock, if you can, or simply imagine its texture. Feel the warmth it has absorbed from 1,000 suns, the coolness of 1,000 nights. This silence is not empty. It is full. It is a deep, resonant quiet that holds everything that has ever been. It is a silence of waiting, of observing, of remembering. The wind that whispers through these canyons is the only voice, and it carries tales from a time long before our own. In this stillness, we can almost hear the heartbeat of the land itself, a slow, steady rhythm that has pulsed through countless seasons of change. It's a silence that invites us inward to find our own quiet center, a place of peace that mirrors the desert's own unwavering calm. Now, let's listen closer to what these stones have to say. Imagine the life that once thrived here. These very cliffs, standing so stoic and still, have echoed with the laughter of children. Can you hear it? The high, joyful sounds of play, bouncing from one rock face to another, a symphony of innocence and delight. Picture them, small figures with sun-kissed skin, their feet light upon the sandy earth, chasing each other through the labyrinth of shadows and light cast by the setting sun. These rocks have absorbed their joy, holding it within their very grain. They remember the games, the secrets whispered between friends, the sense of wonder in a child's eyes, as they looked up at the very same stars we see today. The cliffs are not just geological formations. They are guardians of these precious, fleeting moments of happiness. And it wasn't just laughter. These canyons have been cathedrals. They have held the sacred songs of ceremonies, the rhythmic pulse of drums, the harmonious chants that connected a people to their world, to their ancestors, and to the great mystery of existence. Imagine the flickering firelight dancing on the canyon walls, illuminating faces deep in prayer or celebration. The air would have been thick with the scent of sacred herbs, and the resonant power of voices joined in unity. The songs told stories of creation, of heroes, of the changing seasons. They were prayers for rain, for health, for gratitude. The cliffs listened to every note, every beat, every heartfelt word. They remember the deep reverence, the communal bond, the spiritual energy that filled this space. The very air still vibrates with the echoes of these ancient hymns, a testament to a life lived in deep connection with the earth. I invite you now, if you feel comfortable, to gently close your eyes. Let the world around you fade away. Take a deep, slow breath in, and as you exhale, let go of the present moment. Allow your imagination to carry you back in time. Let the desert's memory become your own. See the past alive again, not as a faint whisper, but as a vibrant, living reality. See the community gathered, their faces painted with earth pigments, their clothing woven with patterns that tell their story. Hear the elders sharing wisdom, their voices raspy with age but strong with conviction. Feel the warmth of the fire on your skin, the solid ground beneath your feet. Watch as the children play, their laughter a pure and beautiful melody. See the artisans at work, chipping stone or weaving fibers, their hands moving with a skill passed down through generations. Smell the aroma of food cooking over an open flame, a scent of community and sustenance. Feel the energy of the ceremony as the songs rise to the stars, a powerful current of belief and connection flowing through everyone present. This past is not lost. It is encoded in the stone, carried on the wind, and held in the silence. It lives within the memory of the desert, and by opening ourselves to it, we can feel its pulse, its life, its enduring spirit. This place remembers, and in its remembering, it invites us to remember. To remember our own connection to the earth, to our ancestors, and to the timeless stories that shape us. Let's remain in this space of imagination for a little while longer. Feel the continuity of life. The people who lived here loved, grieved, celebrated, and dreamed. Just as we do. They looked at this same moon, felt this same sun. The fundamental human experiences are a thread that connects us across the vast ocean of time. The desert doesn't just remember events, it remembers feelings. The deep love between partners, the fierce protection of a parent, the comfort of friendship, the sorrow of loss. All of it is held here. As you breathe, you are breathing the same air they breathed. As you stand on this earth, you are standing where they stood. You are part of this long, unbroken story. The desert's memory is a reminder that we are not isolated beings, but part of a grand, sweeping narrative that stretches far into the past and will continue far into the future. Let this realization settle within you, a feeling of belonging, of being part of something so much larger than yourself. As we begin to bring our journey to a close, slowly and gently, start to bring your awareness back to your own body. Feel the chair or the floor beneath you. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. When you are ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Carry with you the peace of the desert, the echoes of laughter, and the resonance of ancient songs. The desert's memory is now a part of you. It's a reminder that even in silence, there is so much life, so much history, so much to learn. The stones will continue to stand, to remember, to wait for the next traveler who is willing to listen. Thank you for joining me on this reflective journey into the heart of the desert. If this time of quiet contemplation resonated with you, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more chapters of our journey together. Your presence here is deeply appreciated. Until next time, may you walk in peace and listen closely to the stories the world has to tell. Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're taking a journey not just across landscapes, but through time itself. We're heading to Montezuma Castle in Arizona, but we're not just here to admire the ancient architecture. We're here to listen. We're here to learn from the ghosts of the past. From the Sinagua people who called this cliffside dwelling home nearly 1,000 years ago. This is chapter 19 of our journey. The lessons from Montezuma Castle. Standing era beneath this incredible 20-room structure carved into the limestone cliff, it's impossible not to feel a sense of awe. The name, Montezuma Castle, is actually a bit of a misnomer. European-American settlers in the 19th century mistakenly believed it was connected to the Aztec emperor Montezuma. But the truth is far more local, and in many ways, far more profound. This was built by the Sinagua people, a pre-Columbian culture whose name, given by Spanish explorers, means without water. It is an ironic name for a people whose entire existence was a masterclass in managing and respecting this precious resource. And that's our first lesson. A deep, unwavering respect for water. The Sinagua built their home high above Beaver Creek. This wasn't just for defense. It was a strategic position that gave them access to a reliable, year-round water source in a harsh desert environment. They didn't just use the water, they lived in concert with it. Their agriculture, their daily routines, their very survival depended on understanding its cycles. In our modern world, where we turn on a tap without a second thought, the Sinagua remind us, that water is not a commodity. It's the lifeblood of our planet, a sacred element that deserves our protection and reverence. They teach us to see water not as an endless resource, but as a finite gift we must steward with care. The second lesson is one of brilliant adaptation. Look at where they chose to build, not on the valley floor, exposed to the elements, but within the cliff itself. This wasn't just about finding shelter, it was about intelligent design. The cliff provided natural insulation, keeping them cool in the searing summer heat and warmer during the cold desert nights. The southern exposure maximized sunlight in the winter, and the overhang of the cliff provided shade in the summer. They didn't fight against nature, they worked with it. They observed its patterns and integrated their lives into the landscape. This is harmony with nature in its purest form. They weren't conquering the environment. They were becoming part of it. It is a powerful counter-narrative to our modern tendency to bulldoze and reshape the world to fit our needs. The Sinagua show us a different way of listening to the land and finding our place within its embrace. This leads us to our third lesson, the undeniable strength of community. A structure like this wasn't built by one person. It was the work of many hands, a collective effort that required cooperation, shared vision, and immense trust. Imagine the coordination needed to haul timber and mud up these sheer cliffs, 2 shape rooms, to create a functioning society suspended between earth and sky. Each family had their role, but they were all part of a larger whole. They relied on each other for safety, for food, for raising their children. This cliff dwelling is a vertical village, a testament to the idea that we are stronger together. In a world that often feels increasingly individualistic and disconnected, Montezuma Castle stands as a powerful symbol of what we can achieve when we pool our resources, share our burdens, and work towards a common goal. It reminds us that community is not just a social concept, it's a fundamental survival strategy. For about 300 years, the Sinagua thrived here, and then, around the year 1425, they left. The reasons are still debated by archaeologists, perhaps drought, perhaps resource depletion, or maybe they simply migrated to join other growing communities. But their departure leaves us with a final, more meditative lesson. It's a quiet meditation on sustainability and memory. The Sinagua lived here, and then they moved on, leaving this incredible structure behind. But they didn't vanish. Their descendants are among the Hopi-Zuni and other Puebloan peoples of the Southwest today. Their legacy isn't confined to these stone walls. It lives on in the traditions, languages, and resilience of their descendants. This place teaches us that sustainability isn't just about environmental practices. It's about cultural continuity. It's about ensuring that the wisdom of the past is carried into the future. As I stand here in the quiet of the desert, the wind whispering through the empty doorways above, I'm struck by how this place challenges our idea of history. We often think of history as something static, a collection of relics in a museum, a story that is over. But Montezuma Castle feels alive. It's not a relic. It's a textbook written in stone and mortars, offering timeless lessons for the challenges we face today. The Sinagua didn't have our technology, but they had something we seem to be losing, a profound understanding of their place in the natural world. They understood that their well-being was inextricably linked to the health of the ecosystem and the strength of their community. They knew that to thrive, you must adapt, cooperate, and respect the forces greater than yourself. These aren't just historical curiosities, they are urgent messages for the 21st century. How can we live in greater harmony with our environment? How can we rebuild the strong, supportive communities we so desperately need? How can we learn to value resources like water not for their economic worth, but for their intrinsic, life-giving power? The answers won't be found in a single YouTube video, of course. But the questions are what matter, and places like this sacred, ancient, and wise compel us to ask them. The Sinagua left their home, but they also left us a gift, a blueprint for a more sustainable, more connected, and more resilient way of life. Our task is to be quiet enough to listen, humble enough to learn, and brave enough to apply these lessons to our own world. History is not just about what was, it's about what can be. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey to Montezuma Castle. I hope it's given you something to think about. If you found this meaningful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the wisdom of the past. Until next time. travel thoughtfully. As we arrive at chapter 20, our journey through the Verde Valley culminates here, at the castle bathed in the soft, forgiving light of dusk. Look at it. The sun, a painter with a palette of gold and fire, is setting the sky ablaze over the valley. It's a spectacle we've seen countless times, yet each sunset feels like a private showing, a masterpiece painted just for this moment. The last rays of daylight catch the ancient stone walls, igniting them in a warm, golden glow. For a fleeting instant, the castle doesn't look like a ruin. It looks alive, breathing in the last warmth of the day. This is the hour of transition, the sacred pause between day and night. The golden light that danced so brilliantly on the ramparts now begins to recede. Watch as the shadows lengthen, stretching like long, dark fingers across the courtyard. The vibrant gold deepens into amber, then melts into shades of rose and violet. The stone, once warm to the touch, now starts to cool, absorbing the coming chill of the evening. It's a slow, graceful surrender. The sharp edges of the day soften, and the castle settles into a more contemplative mood. The air grows still, and a profound quiet descends, broken only by the whisper of the wind through the weathered archways. Think of all the sunsets these walls have witnessed. Generations have stood right where we are, watching this same sun dip below the horizon. They saw it paint the same colors across the same sky. They felt the same shift from the warmth of day to the cool embrace of night. In tis light, the past doesn't feel so distant. You can almost feel the echoes of their presence, the faint murmur of conversations, the distant laughter of children, the clatter of a guard's armor making his final rounds. The castle holds these memories within its stones, like a silent, faithful keeper of stories. As the light fades, the details of the structure transform. What was stark and clear in the midday sun now becomes mysterious and suggestive. Archways become deep, dark portals into the past. Broken walls form dramatic silhouettes against the multi-hued sky. Each crack and crevice, once just a sign of age, now seems to hold a secret. This is the castle's most poetic hour, when it sheds its stoic daytime facade and reveals a deeper, more soulful character. It's a time for reflection, for feeling the immense weight and beauty of history that permeates this place. The last sliver of the sun disappears, and the world is painted in shades of indigo and twilight blue. The brilliant colors have faded, leaving behind a deep, tranquil calm. The transition is complete. The golden warmth has given way to the cool, silvery touch of evening. The shadows, once long and distinct, have now merged, blanketing the castle in a soft, uniform darkness. The world holds its breath. This is the magic hour, the liminal space between light and dark, where anything feels possible. The energy here is palpable, a quiet, ancient power that seems to rise from the very earth the castle is built upon. Now, look up. As the sky deepens into a velvety black, the first stars begin to appear. One by one, they prick the darkness, like tiny, distant diamonds. Soon, the entire celestial sphere is alight. The Milky Way, a faint, shimmering river of light, stretches across the heavens. Here, away from the glare of city lights, the night sky is a breathtaking spectacle. The castle, now a dark and noble silhouette, stands proudly beneath this cosmic canopy. It has stood under these same stars for centuries, a silent observer of the celestial dance. There is a unique kind of silence that falls over a place like this at night. It's not an empty silence. It's filled with the subtle sounds of the natural world. The gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze, the distant call of a nightbird, the chirping of crickets. These are the sounds that have filled the nights here for millennia. This is the symphony of the valley after dark, a timeless lullaby that has soothed generations. The castle seems to listen, absorbing these sounds into its ancient memory. It's a reminder that even in its stillness, the world around it is vibrantly alive. Imagine the people who once called this castle home. Imagine them looking up at this same star-dusted sky. Did they see the same constellations we see? Did they tell stories about the stars, make wishes upon them, or use them to navigate their journeys? Standing air under this immense, star-filled dome, you feel a profound connection to them. The centuries melt away, and for a moment, you are sharing the same sky. The same sense of wonder, the same feeling of being a small part of something vast and eternal. The stars are a bridge, connecting our present to their past. As our eyes adjust to the darkness, the castle begins to glow with a different kind of light. It's not the fiery gold of the sun, but the soft, ethereal luminescence of the moon and stars. The stone seems to have absorbed the starlight, giving off a gentle, silvery sheen. The structure is no longer just a ruin. It has become a monument, glowing with a quiet, otherworldly beauty. It stands not as a relic of a forgotten time, but as a timeless symbol of strength and endurance. It looks like it belongs to the night as much as it does to the day. Let's take a moment, in the quiet of this night, to simply be present, to feel the cool breeze on our skin, to hear the soft whispers of the valley, to see the castle glowing under a blanket of a million stars. Let this image burn into your memory. This is the culmination of our journey, not an end, but a moment of profound peace and connection. In this silence, we can feel the true spirit of the Verde Valley. It's a spirit of resilience, of beauty, of a history that is not just remembered, but felt. It lives in the stones, the wind, and the stars. They are gone, but their spirit remains. It's in the way the last light of sunset kisses the walls. It's in the cool shadow that follows, promising rest. It's in the first star that appears in the twilight sky. It's in the steadfast silence of the castle, standing guard over the valley. Their stories are woven into the very fabric of this place. And as long as this castle stands, as long as the sun sets and the stars shine, that spirit will never truly fade. It's a legacy not of power or conquest, but of life, of endurance, and of a deep, abiding connection to this land. This moment of stillness, with the castle glowing under the stars, is our final chapter. It's a closing scene that offers not an ending, but a sense of continuity. The story of the Verde Valley continues, written in the cycles of the sun and moon, in the changing seasons, and in the hearts of those who come here to listen to its silent tales. We leave this place changed, carrying a piece of its timeless magic with us. The castle at dusk is more than just a beautiful sight. It's an experience, a meditation, a connection to the enduring spirit of the past. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the Verde Valley and for sharing this final, unforgettable moment with me. The stories we've uncovered are just the beginning. I hope this has inspired you to go out and discover the history that surrounds you, to find the magic in the quiet moments, and to listen to the whispers of the past. If you enjoyed this series, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more adventures into the heart of history. Until next time, keep exploring.